Hey, what's up everyone? It's Ryan with WP Turned Up. In this video, I wanted to discuss something that has perplexed me ever since I started my agency of one many years ago. And that is when to call a customer, and when to call them a client. It's especially in the WordPress space, it's super confusing. I've posed the questions in social media groups in years past and just got a mixed bag of answers. Sometimes they will say, well, they have to be on your website care plan or your maintenance plan to be a client. Otherwise, they're not a client. However, what if they keep coming back and purchasing additional products from you over time, or services, or what if they purchase a product of yours that has something in there for them to keep coming back to you, whether it's being part of your community, a paid community where you provide support and stuff like that. Does that make them a client? It's super, super confusing. And I'm going to give you a real world example of communication with one of the vendors and their response and how it just makes things even more confusing. And I'm going to give you a real world example of this confusion and things that an agency might face. It's what I'm facing. It's a question I have to answer, and I'm just hoping actually to get some feedback from everyone out there and see what you think. In the end, I just want to do the right thing by the vendor, which is, you will see in this video, I'm trying to do that. So with that said, let me set the stage a quick. What has prompted this? I say urgency for lack of a better term right now. It's not really urgent, but it's a thing I'm trying to accomplish and to find out once and for all. But I have a product, right? And it's what I call a starter site, and it is a fully built website, right? It's not a template that you can buy for 30, 40, 50 bucks. It is a fully built website that, again, customer client, they purchase, and they go off and they flip it and turn it into something for their own business. Sometimes they hire me, sometimes they don't, but there's rarely been a case when they just go right off into the sunset and I never hear from them again. So it's that thing. Are they a customer? Are they a client? Sometimes they get a care plan. Sometimes they buy some support hours from me. Sometimes they go out and buy additional products to enhance those starter sites from me. But these aren't just, inexpensive templates that are selling en masse. These are fully built, fully custom websites that are sold at, at a lower rate so people can get their hands on them, right? Within those sites, I have plugins that I've used to build those sites. I'm not going to mention any names, but we're talking some of the most popular WordPress plugins in the ecosystem. And I have partnered with those vendors, and they allow me to include a licensed copy. Yeah, I'm saying that right. A licensed copy of their solution in these starter sites. Okay. There are conditions that I submitted to the vendor when I first reached out to them, saying these are the self-governing rules that I'm going to abide by. And these are also the benefits that are going to help you if you allow me to do this. If they say no, I don't argue. I just move on about my day, and that's that. But there are several well-known vendors that allow me to include a licensed product of theirs on these starter sites. So it adds a ton of value over time to the sites. But aside from adding that value, one of the main reasons I do it, because as someone who runs a website care business, that's one of my bread and butter services, I understand the importance of security and keeping those pieces of software up to date. That is one of the main drivers here, is by being able to supply a license behind the scenes. I'm not saying disclose the license key, but just licensing up the plugins one time for these people so they can then get the updates for that software is really, really important to me. So that is one of the main drivers here. Okay, so I've set the stage. You know what's going on here. I'm going to now show you communication with a very well-known vendor in the WordPress space. Okay, let me go ahead and move this to my other screen. And let's run through this. I've changed any important information, critical, personally identifiable information about the vendor. I've changed it to the word XYZ, or to the letters XYZ, okay? So here is my initial question to the vendor. Hi, I own a lifetime, all-inclusive XYZ license and create custom websites for customers that include XYZ components. Notice I say customers because I just want to put it out there, like the worst case scenario is they are a customer, they're not a client, okay? So I want to cover that basis with this vendor. With the understanding, and this is where those self-governing rules that I put in, this was not told to me by anyone. I thought this was a fair thing, and I thought it was also possibly why people say you need a website care plan, a website maintenance plan for them to be your clients. This is self-governing. With the understanding that these customers must purchase their own XYZ license to get support from XYZ, we can license XYZ for them so they can at least continue to get the updates. So that's the question I'm asking. I'm self-governing myself here. I'm showing that the importance here is so that these customers or clients, we'll see, can get at least the updates. They are not allowed to go to you for support. I'm going to tell them they're not allowed to go to you for support. Let's set that stage right off the bat so this isn't going to put any additional burden on the vendor support team. Other partners, for example, I've redacted the name here, XYZ, for example, of ours, allows us to do this for multiple reasons. And I've laid out some of the reasons why this is beneficial to the vendor. This is free advertising, and we also educate customers. So obviously, hey, it's at free advertising. Your name recognition is going to get out there. I've installed XYZ plugin on the site, and I also educate customers. Again, I keep using customers. That's intentional. Whether it's YouTube videos, written guides, or whatever, I educate customers so they don't even need to go out to the vendor support unless it's something that's really like a bug or something like that. Okay. We make it clear that customers are not to reach out to the vendor for support unless they purchase their own license. Customers must agree to these terms before we deliver the site. So I go through this whole system where they have to watch a video. I tell them you are not allowed to reach out to the vendor for support for any reason, that I am the account holder, only I can request support. If you sign up for website care, then that changes things. I can then reach out on your behalf, and that changes things. I also say when these the terms that they have to agree to, that if they reach out to the vendor for support that violates the terms with me, and you will no longer, I will revoke those license keys. I am making it really known and really strict not to break that rule and to try to protect the vendor, okay? Again, customers must agree to those terms before a site is even delivered. This is a way for vendors, point number 3, this is a way for vendors to get people into their ecosystem because most likely they will need support from the vendor at some point. So they buy the starter site, it's worth a few $100. Again, it's not a $30, $40, $50 template. It's a full-blown website. They go on about their day with licensed versions of the product. At some point, they're probably going to need support from the vendor. And at that stage, then you get them into your ecosystem. Hey, you need to buy a license from us to get support. So then they go out and do that. And then that's sales, right? Okay. Moving on down, I say we in this, it's just me, but I say we because a lot of times I want to appear as, for whatever reason, I want to appear a bit bigger when I'm doing these communications over email. I just feel like they'll take you a little bit more seriously. Unfortunately, that's the case I found. We reviewed the XYZ terms. So I went out and I reviewed the terms of this particular vendor before I reached out. And don't see that we would be violating any rules. Furthermore, the terms page states, if you want to grant access to any websites created by you, which is the case here, make sure to use subkeys. This is a way to protect your license from being stolen we would obviously abide by this. So I'm saying I went out to your terms page. I don't see that we would be violating anything. I am creating these websites for people. I'm going to use abide. I'm going to use the sub keys to protect the master license key. I'm not going to disclose any keys. And I'm saying I'm going to abide by all of this. Okay. Looking forward to your response. Thank you, Ryan. Moving on down. This is the first response I got. Hi, Ryan. Thank you so much for reaching out. Sure, you can use subkeys on your client sites. Smiley face. You see, they use the word client. They didn't say customer, even though I use customer over and over and over and over again. If any help is needed further, please reach out to the support team. Best regards, XYZ marketing team. Okay, so I sat on that for a couple days, and some people might have just took that and ran with it and said, hey, I gave them a chance. You know, this looks like I can go ahead and provide licenses for this plugin in my starter sites. But I'd say it bothered me, but I just thought about it some more. I still didn't feel comfortable with licensing it yet. And I want to be sure, because before I make announcements, hey, you can, this license is now available to you, or to anybody who purchases these sites, and I want to be 100% sure. So I wrote back again, literally right before, or say last night, I guess. So before recording this video, obviously. Hi, I appreciate the reply. I want to be absolutely sure that I am doing the right thing and have XYZ's blessing. The below comes from XYZ's FAQs. Nothing I would ever do would, in air quotes, cause any direct or indirect incidental and consequential damages to XYZ company. That's what they write in their FAQs. It's like, that's the only thing that you have to worry about. I'm obviously not going to cause direct or indirect incidental or consequential damages just by licensing a plugin, right? So, okay, am I in the clear? Can I use the license to create my own commercial products? That is another thing in the FAQs. No, it is strictly prohibited to use XYZ plugins in any way that causes, so this is like the full clause here. No, it is strictly prohibited to use XYZ plugins in any way that causes blah, 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 blah. But again, how is licensing a plugin going to cause that stuff? However, it's a commercial product. I'm creating a product that I'm selling, right? On an e-commerce website. That's a commercial product. So there's mixed messages there. And then I go on to say, as I mentioned in my previous email, I build websites for clients and customers. The customers are not necessarily my clients. Obviously, I'm trying to do right by XYZ here, and I'd ask that my original message be reviewed again. Thank you, Ryan. This is the next response I got. It's even shorter. Hey, Ryan, nice to hear from you. You can use XYZ on client sites using subkeys. And then they give you a link to the knowledge base on how to use the subkeys. Okay. So again, they're not using the word customer, and I think it's intentional, or they're just copying and pasting, or I don't know what the hell's going on. But where it says best regards XYZ, I got the same person each time. The same person responded. Okay. Now that could be a general name that they use, but I got the same thing twice. And even though I clearly said, yeah, I am going to use subkeys. I know how to use them. I'm going to use them. They said that again. They repeated themselves. So part of me wonders if it's a copy and paste. So again, I'm like, what am I left with? My gut says that I should be able to go out and provide the license keys now. You know, it's like I should be able to do it. So that's kind of why I'm looking for, media outlets. I've reached out to Matt Medeiros at the WP Minute. I'm going to actually send him this video once I'm done. I think this would be a great topic for the WordPress ecosystem in general, just to know. Like I said, I've got a large number of companies that aren't even, that some are partners, some are not, that are allowing me to license their products in my products because of the value that they provide, and because I am not putting an additional burden on their support. I'm not disclosing any license keys or anything like that. Trying to do the right thing is what I keep driving home there. So I've researched, what is a client versus a customer? And it's just, I'll read something like on Reddit or something like that. And it's, I'm looking at that right now. And this is a response to somebody asking the same question. To simplify it, basically a client is someone who is asking for a custom item or service, okay? I've created a custom item or service, so that makes them a client according to what this person's saying. A customer is someone who buys something as is. So they buy my starter sites, and they're not buying it as is because there's other free things that I give them as part of that purchase that they need to go out and they purchase a free license key from me, and it gives them a lifetime license to my own stuff that I've created. So they're not buying something as is technically. They need to go in and put a license key. They need to configure it. They often come to me for help. They come into my community and ask questions for further clarification or how to do a certain thing. So they're not just buying something as is. It's not just like buying like a $30, $40, or $50 template that you never hear from them again, in most cases. And then you keep going all through here, and every response is different. Here's another one. A client generally purchases a service while a customer purchases goods. Okay, so that's that. Clients receive some form of service under some kind of contract. Customers receive some goods or other physical stuff. Guests are clients, specifically clients. It's just all confusing. And it's super confusing. So that's the moral of the story. I'm going to stop rambling. I would just love to know, what is the ethical thing here? Assuming that the terms are confusing and vague, and we can't go by that. You reach out to the vendor, and what they're saying is vague. They're not addressing what you're asking. You own a lifetime unlimited license, it doesn't even have to be that. It could just be you own multiple keys that you're paying for every year. It doesn't have to be lifetime or unlimited. When are we ethically allowed, in air quotes, to do it? I'd have to think from my standpoint. If I am providing multiple keys for a price and someone out there is willing to give me that free advertising by including a licensed version of my software, they are making it clear to their client base, customer base, whatever you want to call it, that they are not to reach out for support. So that support burden wouldn't be on me. It's basically free advertising, right? And then I potentially am going to have a sale in the future because they're going to need support from me probably eventually, maybe, but there's no skin off my back. In other words, if I reverse and I put myself in the situation of the vendors I'm reaching out to, what's the harm if you're not actually disclosing the keys that can't be distributed? And it's not like I'm selling hundreds of these sites. These have a high enough ticket price that they're not bought every day. They're not bought every other day. They are highly custom, and they are a few $100s. They're not, they're not those cheap templates. Anyway, again, I'll stop rambling. Would love to know your thoughts on all of this stuff. And hope all is well, and catch you guys in the next video.